Hello everyone, it's your boy Rainbow. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the protests that are happening in India. But before we begin, if you would like to support the channel, please give this video a like and subscribe for more videos like this. So, for those of you that are unaware of what's going on in India, there are currently protests that are happening, and this is why we should care about this. Now, I recently came across a tweet talking about this issue, and I never get news from India. And I think the reason is because I think the national media outlets from India are trying to suppress the protests as well as making it seem like it's a violent thing. I'm gonna read what this person said. The person's name of the Twitter account is called Krishvani Era. Love the name, by the way. But the tweet says, "For all of my non Indian mutuals and friends wondering what's happening in India, here's what's happening in India right now, and please spread it as much as possible." So I'll read it and then I'll explain what it means. India is witnessing one of its biggest student led protests in recent years. It all started as outrage over repeated exam irregularities, but now has turned into a nationwide movement demanding accountability and justice. For years, students preparing for highly competitive entrance and government recruitment exams have faced repeated paper leaks, exam cancellations, irregularities, and allegations of corruption. Millions spend years preparing for these exams. For many families, these tests determine their entire future, and the system keeps on failing them, and it's always the youth who have to pay the price. The frustration isn't just about one exam. There has been a pattern of failures with absolutely zero accountability. Those who are actually responsible for all this rarely face any consequences, while it's always the students who lose years of preparation, opportunities, money, and hope. One of the main demands is the resignation of India's Education Minister, Dharmendra Pradhan, who should be held politically responsible for the repeated examination controversies. We are also demanding broader reforms, accountability, and an overhaul of the examination system. The protests have also raised concerns about our basic democratic rights. While the youth are doing peaceful protests, they're being lathi charged. So, for those of you that don't know what lathi I think it's called, it's like a bamboo stick, but I think it's electrically charged. Tear gas dragged and detained while marching. We demand accountability of the police and call for investigations into the use of force against peaceful protesters. Many students are asking a simple question. If young people peacefully demanding a fair education system are met with force instead of dialogue, what does that say about accountability in a democracy? Democracy isn't about elections, right? It's also about protecting people's rights to peacefully protest and question those in power. The movement has become much bigger than just exams. It's about protecting the value of hard work, restoring trust in public institutions, and ensuring future generations don't have to keep paying the price for systemic failures. Whether you're from India or not, please pay attention. Students aren't asking for special treatment. They're asking for a fair system, accountability from those in power, and the right to be heard without violence. Please help amplify their voices by liking and reposting across all social media platforms. Now, I want to explain and talk about why it's important to talk about the NEET exam and the Cockroach Janta Party protests. So, for context, let me explain what the Cockroach Janta Party is. So, in India, there's a BJP. I don't know how to say the name of the party, but this party belongs to Narendra Modi. That is Narendra Modi's party. It's been the main party for a couple of years now. And I believe one of the Chief Justices of the Supreme Court of India, his name is Surya Kant. He called the youth a bunch of parasites and cockroaches. The quote is available on Wikipedia, and there's even a video which I will show right now.
There are already parasites in society. You attack you people, you attack the system. There are youngsters like cockroaches. They don't get any employment, they don't have any place in profession. Some of them become media, some of them become social media, some of them become RTI activists, some have become another activist, and they start attacking everyone.
So, in retaliation to the insulting words of this Chief Justice, an Indian citizen named Abhijit Tipke, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, actually created the Cockroach Janta Party as a form of satire and as a joke at first. And some of the requirements were that you had to be lazy, you had to be unemployed either by force or by choice, and basically be chronically online. And there was no requirement for caste or gender or religion. Anybody could join, right? So those were the requirements. But ever since then, what started off as a joke is now being used as a form of power and a form of protest. Those of you guys who are Gen Z and have been in the internet for a long time, you guys know that Gen Z, as well as millennials, have used comedy and jokes as a form of protest and as a form of self-expression, right? And I think we're all aware of how memes can create political change. We've seen this in the elections that we have here in the US as well, and I'm sure many of you guys, international viewers, are aware of that as well. Now, for the past, ever since I think May, but just recently, news are starting to come out. Protests have been happening. The youth has been participating, such as Gen Z, but I have also been seeing the elderly supporting Gen Z and the protests. There is this creator or this channel name named KK Creates, and she's a journalist, and she was actually in Jantar Mantar in Delhi, where the protests are actually happening because of the NEET leaks. And there were some heartbreaking stories. I heard of a student talk about how after the NEET exam was canceled because of the leaks, her blood pressure shot up to 180. For those of you that are not diabetic, this is a life-threatening situation because you become hypertensive, and high blood pressure actually causes seizures. I almost lost a family member due to high blood pressure, so this is not something to joke about. There's also protests because of mental health and because 20 students actually took their own lives after the NEET exam was leaked. And you guys might be wondering why this is happening, right? Exams being leaked in India is nothing new. For the past 11 years, there have been more than 400 leaks, and in every single state, there's always an exam leak. And because of this recent leak of the NEET exam, many students have had to retake it or have had to postpone taking the exam. This means thousands of rupees thrown into the garbage, basically. You spend money trying to get a government ID, government photo, your fingerprints checked, your background check. You have to get rupees or money to get to the nearest testing center so that you can take your exam, which costs money. The amount of rupees, which is lakhs, and sometimes even crores, depending on who's buying what, but essentially it's like thousands upon thousands of rupees spent each year to study and prepare for this national exam to become a doctor, right? So it's time spent, money spent, all thrown in the trash just because people decided to leak it, and because the education system in India is so corrupt and so greedy that they do not take the necessary precautions to prevent leaks like this. Because at the end of the day, these exams, they generate hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of rupees off of low-income students. And of course, they benefit more from exploiting those who are vulnerable and low income. So there's the financial and the time pressure. On top of that, students sacrifice time with their families. They do not spend time with their families because they're busy studying, trying to study in a quiet place and fulfilling all the requirements to study for the NEET exam. They also miss out on holidays. And for those of you that don't live in India or don't know the culture in India, almost every single month there's a huge celebration in honor of the gods that is celebrated. An example, Diwali, the festival of lights; Holi, the festival of colors; Krishna Janmashtami, which is the celebration of Lord Krishna. There's also Ganesh Chaturthi, which is the celebration of Lord Ganesh. Those are just a few of the wonderful celebrations that India has. But almost India has beautiful celebrations all year round. And many of these students aren't able to even celebrate with their families on these important occasions because they need to study for the NEET exam. Another issue why this is important and why so many students take away their own lives is because there's this pressure, family pressure and societal pressure. Most of the aspirants for NEET, as well as G is the government version of the NEET exam. Basically, these exams guarantee you a position in higher positions or in the medical field, right? But anyway, there's this societal and family pressure for daughters and sons to get out of poverty for low-income students. Many Gen Zers are actually unemployed by millions. Millions are unemployed. Not to mention, those who do have jobs can barely make ends meet. They can barely afford to get money. They can barely afford to get food. Many of them live below the poverty line in India. They can barely make ends meet. They make below the minimum wage in India. So having this opportunity to study and study for the NEET or the G exam, which are pathways to get them into positions that could potentially give them a higher salary, is a hope for them to get out of poverty. So there's societal pressure, family pressure, financial pressure for these students to ace well in their exams. So when a NEET exam is scheduled to happen on a certain day and is canceled or postponed, these students then all of a sudden feel the pressure to try even harder. They want to not forget what they just studied, right? On top of this, there is more pressure because NEET aspirants or the students who study and prepare for these exams, they don't cram like some of us here in the US. In the US, if you have a pop quiz or an exam, you can just cram the day before. For NEET students and for G aspirants, they spend years preparing for these exams. It's not just a 1 year thing, it's years. So it's this enormous pressure to fulfill their family's expectations to pass these exams, right? So when the education system fails them, the people who get punished are not the people in authority nor the education system itself. It's the students. The students take their own lives. The students begin to feel like they're failures. The students lose thousands of rupees and thousands of hours spent studying and basically putting in their hard work effort and essentially failing their families as well. So that's why it's such a huge deal in India. I guess a way to compare it would be the Gaokao examinations in China. In China, it's probably almost equal, except China's a little bit more stricter. But the Gaokao exams, for those of you that don't know, this is this one exam that can basically determine whether or not you get a good job or not. It's once you take it, it's your one shot at life, and that's it. That's why many roads in China are forced to be quiet. There's even strict rules like you can't play music, you can't work. When these Gaokao examinations happen, and for the students who cannot afford to go to their testing centers in China, many police officers as well as those who are service workers offer students to take them to their examinations for free, so that they are guaranteed to pass, because this is a huge deal for them in China. So you can understand the pressure for these students in India. I guess another way to explain it, for those of you that live in the US, for those of you that don't know what this is, I'll try my best to explain because I myself have taken this, but I'm an AP student. AP means advanced placement. Advanced placement means college level or a grade higher than the grade you're taking. So let's say I was in 7th grade. In 7th grade, I was already taking 8th and 9th grade classes. Okay, so these are classes that are beyond your grade level, essentially. And there are years spent into learning these classes and gaining knowledge from them. In AP exams, it's not as pressurable, I guess, as the Gaokao and the NEET exams. But the reason I try to bring it into perspective is because these AP exams cost money. For some, It costs 50, for some it costs 100 depending on where you live. Also, it's competitive and it's a national exam. And in some cases, these exams can determine whether or not your credits, your scores essentially, are transferred into the college you go to. But essentially, what I'm trying to bring into perspective here is that the AP exams, they are college level, almost college level courses in some cases, especially if you're taking it your last year of high school. And you spend years trying to prepare for this one exam. And the other difference, I guess, is that you can retake it, but you'll have to retake it in a different testing center. I just want to put that into perspective and explain a little bit as to my perspective as to why I care about it so much, because even I understand the pressure of exams, and I understand the pressure of not wanting to retake it, because even retaking it takes more time and more money off of you. And it's like, I did all of this for what? I studied all of this for what? I put in all of this money for what? And even more, adding more to this, many family members go into debt for their sons and daughters and children to take these exams, because this is their one chance in life. This is their one chance in life to succeed. This is their one chance in life to get out of poverty for some families. So many students work hard, and not to mention, many of the people that do get in government jobs or become doctors tend to be people from the wealthy or the upper class. So it definitely says something about the systems that are in place in India, which is why the Cockroach Janta Party and the protesters, the students, the Gen Zers, and even elders are protesting. I even saw in the video of KK Creates, where she was interviewing people in the protests, one of the people protesting was a father, and he said, "The reason I'm here protesting today is because my daughter took her own life. She took her own life." And so he's like, "I want to fight for the future generation, willing to fight for the next generation." And even the elders were also supporting the youth in these times as well, which was very, nice to see, unity as well. And it's not just, you know, what the CJP, as the Cockroach Janta Party, is requesting is that Dharmendra Pradhan, who is the education minister, step down and resign because of the corruption in the education system. Because the education system is basically exploiting the poor and the citizens of India, gaining millions of rupees a year at the cost of the mental health of students and the debts of parents. So it's unfair. It's an unfair system. And what's even more interesting is that his daughter is actually completing a master degree of law school in the US. So this is bringing a highlight into the corruption that exists in the education system in India, right? Many politicians and education ministers who have children send their children abroad to gain an education. And that's why many students who are protesting or participating in a protest are saying, "Why are you sending your children abroad?" If you have an education system in India, but it also shows the parallels and the hypocrisy of, and the corruption essentially of the education system in India, right? How are these rich kids able to afford getting an education abroad while the low income and the rest of the India's population is struggling to pay fees so that their daughters and sons and children can get, into the medical field through the NEET exam. Another thing is that many people are protesting against Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of India. Many people in the youth are against Modi's policies and the way that Modi is running the government, so they want him to resign as well. And as I'm recording this video, I actually found out a recent update. So the Cockroach Janta Party protesters are requiring that Dharmendra Pradhan resign. Narendra Modi only fired the Secretary of Education, not the Minister, which is what many of the youth are requiring. Okay, a little quick update, and I apologize if my voice sounds a little quiet. It is currently 6:42 Eastern Standard Time. But anyway, as of 4:08 p.m. in India time, Dharmendra Pradhan, the education minister, has now resigned and stepped down. So this is such a huge win for Gen Z and India right now. I hope you guys are able to celebrate, and congratulations. Um, I'm really happy to see how Gen Z and the elders and how India can just unite over a simple cause and actually get some change out of it. So, go out and celebrate if you guys can. But I also want to remind you, just because someone stepped down doesn't mean that your work is over. Make sure that the person who does replace the education minister is someone righteous and is someone who actually will fulfill the demands for education reform. But either way, congratulations, India. The reason why many news outlets are not talking about this so much is because many people are trying to invalidate the protests that are happening, claiming that the students are dangerous and hurting the police, when in fact it's actually the opposite. Many of the students are actually peacefully protesting and even going on hunger strikes. A renowned scientist in India, I believe, I forgot his name and I apologize, but he recently went on a hunger strike and he was forcibly taken to a hospital by the government so that his hunger strike would end because his life was in danger. And he, as of today, the day I'm recording this video, he ended the hunger strike at the hospital, and we wish him a safe recovery. And so he was one of the catalysts for the protests as well, who inspired the youth to protest and require a new education reform. But back to what I was saying, the protests are being invalidated by a lot of political agendas and even personal agendas who are using the protests to basically put out their own agendas. But they're not really there to support the students, they're just there to propagate their own agendas. That was never the intention of the movement. However, many people, of course, just want to use this opportunity to hate as well as to spread division, to basically confuse people as to what the main purpose of the Cockroach Janta Party was from the beginning, which was an education reform and request the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan to ensure that NEET or exams and future exams don't get leaked, and hopefully get a new government reform and take these corrupt officials out of office. That was the main purpose of this movement. However, many people are trying to invalidate and make it seem like this movement is something violent in order to invalidate and basically lessen the popularity and impact on Indian society. I mean, we've seen this time and time again here in the US as well, where protests have first started peacefully, like the BLM protests and the ICE protests that were first initially protests against, oppressive systems and, dangerous law enforcement. Many have used these movements and protests as a way to just spread propaganda and chaos to invalidate the movement. So I think we all can understand why this is happening. I think if your own government has to use violence to silence the people, then that means the government is scared of you. And speaking of violence, there is violence in protests, but not from the students. So some people, specifically the police officers, are tear gassing students and the youth, and some are even hitting women and children in broad daylight. They're even ripping off the clothes off of women. I have even heard that one officer even tried to do this to a woman. I cannot even say it on YouTube. There was even a case in these protests where a 6-year-old was even tear gassed by the police in India, a 6-year-old child. And many of the comments were saying, why did you bring a 6-year-old to the protest? Or, you're such a bad mother. How dare you? And things of that nature. And I'm just wondering, it does not matter who, what, when, where, why the child was in there. The whole purpose was that a 6-year-old child was hurt and tear gassed by police, the very same people that swore to protect and to serve you, the people. The police is hitting on people. They are hitting protesters and women and men and everybody who's protesting with not only tear gas but also lathis. Lathis, which are batons. Some have nails ingrained into them, as well as electric batons, and they are mainly used for crowd control, but now are being used as weapons of violence to hurt protesters who have been protesting peacefully since day one. If you are going to protest in Delhi and somehow this video reached you, I do have resources in my link tree. In the link tree called India, it will be like an orange link tree. It will be in the description as well as in the pinned comment. If you guys would like to check those out, feel free to do so. There are resources there on how to protect yourself from tear gas. If you're in trouble with law enforcement, there are phone numbers and contact information for lawyers. If you want to help the cause, especially if you're an international viewer, you can scan these QR codes right here that you guys see on the screen, or I will also be putting them in the link tree as links, and all you have to do is just click on them and scan the QR codes there as well. Right now they need money for eye goggles, they need money for hygienic products, they need money for food and water. They also need money for, ways to get rid of the tear gas from eyes and from the skin. So, you know, a way that you can help is financially. But if you are going protesting, I do want you guys to remember to please be safe. If you are a woman or if you're going alone to the protest, don't go alone. Have somebody with you. Write your contact information on your arm. And a lot of people are also suggesting that if you don't want to be identified, wear a mask to hide your identity. Also, if a police officer ever does hurt you in any way, many police officers in India are taking away their badges or any sort of identifiable information. We have seen this time and time again with certain agents here in the US, so just be aware of that. Take pictures, take videos, make sure that your phones are charged, and make sure you gather any sort of evidence that you can, but don't share it on social media unless your life is in complete danger. But first, take it to lawyers, people who are experts in the law and in the Indian constitution, to see what your rights are and to basically know what your next steps are in case a police officer ever does hurt you in any way if you are going on these protests, right? And I myself have seen protests throughout the years in the US, so I'm just sharing a bit of the tips there. If you guys want more tips on how to protect yourself in these protests, I also have a resource in my link tree if you guys would like to go check it out. All of those will be in the India link tree, but will also be linked in my main link tree. Anyway, those resources will be in the description and in the pinned comment if you're interested. And this is a message from the US to India. I'm a student from the US who comes from immigrant parents, and I understand the struggle. And I empathize with India and India's students at this time. India, you have a golden opportunity that the US currently does not have, and it's that the entire country has the power to change the future. You have this golden opportunity to reform an education system that can literally help inspire and change the millions of lives of the youth in India. Do not become like the US. Do not become complacent. Set an example for them. You guys can do so much. Not only can you reform the education system, you can get corrupt officials out of power with your protests. You can enact change at this time. The reason why I'm saying this is because the US currently is failing our kids. I don't think I need to explain why this is happening in the US. But for those of you that don't live in the US and are listening to me right now, currently our schools are failing our children here in the US. Children cannot get past the 6th grade reading level. They struggle to read even a sentence. They struggle to read even a paragraph. They cannot think critically. Their attention span is short. And the education systems here are failing our students. On top of that, teachers are resigning, and on top of that, there are no teachers left to teach our kids here in the US as well. Our teachers are not getting paid enough, they're not getting paid livable wages, and we're all struggling here. In India, I know that you also are struggling with not having enough teachers anyway. I heard from a protester that in a certain state of India, I forgot, but there in every 400 schools, there's only one teacher teaching per every school because there's a lack of teachers because the government is not paying them enough. And we're also dealing with the same thing here in the US. Of course, our systems are very different, and I understand that. But this is why I tell India, you guys have the power right now to change the government, to reform your system. Make sure that you take this opportunity and don't let it go to waste. Know that those of us who are listening and seeing you, we hear you, we see you, and we support you during these times. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, peace and love out.